Hello and welcome back to the channel, and welcome back to Sniper Elite. Today we'll be ranking all 15 rifles in Sniper Elite 4. This is an important topic as Sniper Elite 4 is surprisingly about sniper rifles, and they are the weapons you will or should be using the most. This list is my opinion, so if anyone wants to disagree, do so in the comments and please keep it civil. So without further ado, let's get into this. At the bottom spot, the worst rifle in the game, we have the M1 Carbine. The M1 is a semi-automatic rifle with low recoil, but also the damage of a foam champagne bottle. It has a quite frankly ridiculous magazine size of 20 rounds, which is more than enough, and as I just said, it is magazine fed, which is nice. My problems with the M1 is that it is evidently designed as a close range rifle, and if I wanted to play the close range battle I use a Sten or a 1911. The M1 just clearly wasn't designed as a proper sniper rifle, which would be fine in most games, but in a game literally called Sniper Elite 4, that's not useful and it pays the price. In the number 14 spot we have the M1 Garand. The M1 is a semi-automatic rifle with poor damage and surprisingly high recoil. The weapon is clip fed and has a good capacity of 8 rounds, but suffers due to its inability to precisely land follow-up shots, which is the most important aspect of a semi-auto rifle. Overall, the M1 Garand has lackluster performance and was only added in because it's a Garand, and also the Garand ping sounds like an Asda toaster with scoliosis. In the number 13 spot, we have the Gower 43. The G43 is a semi-automatic German infantry rifle, and whilst not a bad gun, the G43 has poor damage and dodgy recoil, and is not incredibly suited to long-range sniping. The G43 feeds from 10 round magazines, which is very nice, but it's just very average in the semi-auto rifles market and isn't a match for the other bolt-action rifles. Overall, the G43 isn't a bad gun, it's just not competitive. In the number 12 spot we have the Svt Rifle. We're now getting to the rifles that aren't bad and are just kind of underperforming. The Svt has a good magazine size of 10 rounds, and like all good Russian rifles, it seems to be more powerful than the competition. However, the recoil is reminiscent of a mid-15th century hand cannon, and if you're looking for power, just use a bolt-action rifle. Overall, the Svt is good, but like the G43, it's outclassed by the competition. And in the number 11 spot, we have the Mauser Rifle, our first bolt-action. The Mauser isn't bad, it's just that all the other bolt-action rifles are better. If you want damage, go for the Kakano. If you want fire rate, go for the Mannlicher. If you want the magazine capacity, go for the Enfield. The Mauser's damage isn't bad, but it's still quite weak for a bolt-action rifle. And the Mauser only holds 5 rounds and is hand-loaded, which is quite annoying. Overall, I'd avoid the Mauser as every other bolt-action rifle's better, and once again, it's not a bad gun, it's just outclassed by the competition. In the number 10 spot, we have the ZH-29. This thing is the definitive, very best semi-automatic rifle, and still only at the number 10 spot. Says a lot about how I feel about semi-auto rifles. The weapon's damage is the best out of all the semi-auto rifles, but still mediocre compared to bolt-actions. The weapon also feeds from, quite frankly, ridiculous 20-round magazines, which in the world of Sniper Elite is like having an entire munitions factory attached to the bottom of your gun. The weapon's downside is that the recoil is substantial, but it's still the best out there in terms of semi-autos. In the number 9 spot we have the Kar 98K. I'm unsure as to why this thing is so bad. The German weapons in the game are confusing, as they're either really bad like the G43, Kar 98K and Sturmgewehr, or really good like the MP40, Luger, AP38 and FG42. The Kar 98K definitely fits into the lower echelon of weaponry, Lackluster damage, fire rate and magazine capacity make this thing as useful as a weightlifter with lumbago. In the number 8 spot we have the Mannlicher. This thing isn't bad, but it suffers in the damage department and also doesn't have an amazing capacity. The weapon's advantage is that the bolt is straight pull instead of a conventional bolt system, meaning that the fire rate is fractionally higher than other bolt action rifles. However, wanting fire rate from a bolt action rifle is like wanting boot space in a supercar. Fire rate is just not what you use one of these things for. In the number 7 spot, we have the Enfield. The Enfield has acceptable damage and fire rate, and has the highest magazine capacity of any bolt action rifle in the game, topping out at a magnificent 10 rounds. However, the Enfield seems to have pulled a Mannlicher and prioritised a stat irrelevant to bolt action rifles. Also, the 10 round magazines are loaded by hand, which creates incredibly long reload times. And now we're getting to the rifles which are actually really good and I'd happily use. We have the Winchester at the number 6 spot, which has the claim to fame for being the only lever action rifle in the game. In terms of statistics, it's basically functionally identical to bolt action rifles. The only difference is that lever actions are as cool as an aircraft carrier or James Bond or Operation Nimrod. The Winchester has good damage and is capable, if not amazing, at extreme ranges. The one downside of this thing is its small magazine and its reload is as long as the average Red Dead 2 cutscene. In the number 5 spot we have the Springfield Rifle. The Springfield is given to you at the beginning of the game and is an excellent beginner weapon and a great weapon in general. The damage is great and it's still one of the very finest rifles for use at extreme ranges. The one disadvantage, like most rifles, is the small capacity and lengthy reload, although it is not as bad as the Winchester. However, going back to the supercar analogy I used 258 words ago, I think that complaining about reloads with a bolt action rifle is like complaining about boot space in a supercar. I just have to point it out because I'm reviewing these rifles and I have to be critical. In the number 4 spot we have the Ross Mark III, whose notable claim to fame is that this thing is the owner of the world's coolest looking scope. The Ross is bolt action with high damage and good performance at range. Once again, the long reload and small magazine capacity is annoying, although it's not really too problematic in 99% of scenarios. It's a coin toss whether the Springfield or the Ross is better, and to be honest, the Springfield is better, and I just put the Ross above it because of the awesome scope. Now we get onto the rifles that are proper grade A, S tier, maximum overdrive, uber mega ultra plus killing machines. In third place we have the Mosin Nagant. The Mosin possesses excellent damage, excellent ability at ranges well past the 400 meter mark, and is overall just one of the very best rifles in the game, held back only by its mediocre reload statistics. Quite simply, the Mosin is magnificent. In second place we have the Delilah Carbine. I'll be honest, I wanted to put this gun in first place, and it's my very favourite rifle and in my opinion the very best gun in the entire game. I've made an entire video on this thing, and despite the video not even being that good, it has 2,308 views at the time of writing, which is quite frankly mental, and shows that I'm right to sing praise of this thing all day. The Delilah gets second place in the list of best rifles because of its terrible damage, awful bullet drop, laughable muzzle velocity, hideously low zoom levels, awful fire rate and complete inability at over 100 meters. However, the Delilah is fed from 7 round magazines, which is nice. The Delilah's true strength is that it's always silenced, meaning that you're an invisible enemy when using this thing. This makes churning through Nazis incredibly easy, and it's hilarious seeing their fragile little minds outwitted by a glorified M1911 with a wooden stock. In first place, as best rifle and best weapon overall in Sniper Elite 4, we have of course the Carcano. This thing is so good it's unfair. incredible stopping power with the muzzle velocity of Odin's farts and next to no bullet drop. Additionally, this thing makes killing at over half a kilometre easier than saying this sentence. It's very rare I get to use the phrase easier done than said, but this is one of those few times. Additionally, it holds 6 rounds and is fed by magazines instead of by hand, and that ensures excellent continuation of fire when you have the entire Wehrmacht in your crosshairs. I think that Sniper Elite 4 would have been an excellently balanced game if it weren't for this thing. This thing is orders of magnitude greater than everything else. Think of like the Little Bird in Battlefield 4, or the RCP-90 in GoldenEye, or the McLaren F1 in 90s supercar market. This thing is a game changer. I cannot possibly tell you how good it is, especially when you've got it golded with all the upgrades and stuff. Thank you everyone for watching the video. Remember to like, subscribe and comment. It costs you nothing and it's a great way to help out the channel. Stay safe and goodbye.